friends, it's T-Man, and we back with another video. Again, JasonBlaha, man. It never gets boring, I guess, with this dude, right? The lifting gym slave. I'm going to review this video too, because JasonBlaha says the bros got it all. Got a lot of the things right in lifting. The bros got a lot of things right in lifting. All right, Blaha. Oh, and he wants you to inquire about his services. Okay, whatever. Let's see.
My brother first.
I'm gonna take a sip of this.
Get my radio voice going and let's
Yes, Blaha.
talk about this. All right, something that I've had people comment on, they're like, you said stuff about bro diets, you said stuff about bro splits recently, over the last couple of years. They're like, it sure seems like a lot of the bros who the evidence-based guys often made fun of sure got a lot of things right. You know what? They did, and I think this is something that we have to acknowledge. And I think it's important for us to understand a lot of the stuff that was done in the lifting world, powerlifting world, bodybuilding world, all these communities for years, they were in the trenches trying to always be the best. They experimented and did a lot of stuff and observed what it did. They did the best that they could without measurements. And here's the thing, a lot of times they did things that they got right, they just got the reasons wrong. Therefore, it's bro science, right? In other words, so if you come up with, you see that the sun is yellow, and you maybe come up with some hypothesis that's completely ridiculous as to why it's yellow, and then science looks at it and says, well, it's yellow for a different reason. You're not wrong that it's yellow. You're just wrong in the reason that it happened. And only because you didn't have the scientific knowledge to know actually why. And I think this is something we have to admit when it comes to lifting culture. We have to admit this. A lot of times they got stuff really, really right years ago. They just misunderstood the mechanism behind it. So a lot of times when we're even at
Oh, they misunderstood the mechanism behind it. What would that mechanism be, Blaha? Please do tell us.
Some of these contradictions, we get some preliminary data that says, well, it looks like the higher frequencies might cause a better muscle protein synthesis, but then newer studies find that it doesn't actually cause muscle growth difference.
When they're doing these studies, they're just marking down things that are happening. You probably don't even understand what these studies, they're talking to other scientists. They're not talking to you. You don't even understand what they're talking about in there.
It's like, okay, maybe they're onto something. We look at different stuff at bro diets. People are like, oh, we can do this and flexible dieting, and you can eat much higher fat, but then you go look at some of the bro diets. Chicken, brown rice, broccoli, right? The traditional bro type diet. I'm not saying that's all they ate, but the diet's built around that, which tend to be very high in high satiety carbs.
No, the bro stuff, they used to eat a lot of raw stuff when I was growing up. People still ate a lot of raw things, like tartar and things. They ate a lot of raw meat and stuff in those days. Even the eggs, they drank them raw. They ate them raw. They didn't cook them. As far as I could remember, I remember watching these things in these old magazines. They would talk about, it was explanatory. They ate as raw as they could, actually, for maximizing the best gains in your body, for like changing your body structure and stuff. You ate these animal products raw.
Vegetables.
I remember seeing dishes in like some old magazines, man. They were like they were always talking about tartar and how people ate sushi and stuff, raw seafood and fucking raw meat, but it was prepared. It was prepared stuff. Yeah.
A lot of carbohydrates, low fat, a lot of lean protein.
A lot of carbohydrates, lean fat, protein. Man, yeah, you could use carbohydrates, but they're not that good. They're not good for you. Eventually, over time, they'll destroy you, carbohydrates. They'll destroy your mitochondria.
And it worked. And usually a lot of them are like, well, if we're going to add fat, we'll add salmon or fish in, some, again, very healthy fats.
I don't remember people eating that much carbs back in those the carb craze is now. People eat more carbs than they ever have now than in the past.
If they're adding any fats historically. And that worked great. But then, you came people in, well, it turns out it really is just calories in and out. But then here's what do you find? Recovery is still better on these higher quality diets. Satiety is better. And what do we find? We don't store carbs as body fat. If we go off all the newest data and don't try to look at some of the rodent studies and of this old junk garbage research, we are finding now conclusively humans are not really gaining body fat from carbohydrates. It's coming from fat that we eat. And yes, calories in, calories out matter, but even some of the foods, even different carbohydrate sources have a different thermic effect. They have a different satiety effect.
Carbohydrates have a thermo effect? No, they don't. They don't have any thermo effects. Satiety. Man, he's making this stuff up. This is crazy.
Okay? In other words, 1,000 calories from brown rice versus, say, 1,000 calories from table sugar do not have the same calorie output on the thermic end. Your body...
You're comparing two different things, two different makeups, sugar and rice. One is a complex carbohydrate. The other one is a simple carb. Oh, man. Wow, this guy is really off the wall. And rice is filled with arsenic.
Has to break down the brown rice differently. It will use energy even breaking it down. You're going to have better appetite control. So it's not even about the insulin or any of that. So you start looking at these things and you realize they still got a lot of stuff right. And people are like, oh, it's the calories.
Well, the simple carb, the sugar, will make you insulin resistant. The complex carb, it's slow going. So yeah, it's steady. It's not going to make you insulin, pretty much won't make you, it should make you insulin resistant.
It's the carb, it's not the fat you eat. When these guys had enough common sense to look at it and set back then, they realized, probably easier for the body to turn fat into fat than it is to turn other stuff into fat. Right? And should just
turn fat into fat? Well, if you're insulin resistant and you're eating fat, then yeah, your body will turn it into fat. That's usually how it works.
Must be common sense without any data. If you had no studies to look at, a person might reasonably conclude that. But then we got into all this different data and debates and everything else about de novo lipogenesis and the insulin obesity hypothesis, and guess what? Turned out none of it was really true. The original Bro hypothesis is right, and even in the situations where carbohydrates are stored as fat, guess what? You waste energy doing it. It requires calorie expenditure to even do it. Plus, you don't have all the...
It's stored as fat? Okay, I never heard that one before. Wow.
The thermic effect from the carb overfeeding when it happens.
The thermo effect over carbs overfeeding will give you a thermo effect? Yeah, I don't think so. It's energy. What thermal effect?
So on and so forth. And when you go back and look at some of the Bro stuff, you go, but these people all got great results. I mean, look back historically and look at Bro training. Oh, they're doing...
Because historically, they weren't eating that type of food back then. They were more into eating animal protein. When I was growing up, people ate a lot of animal protein, bro. I mean, these stores, these corner stores, these European stores and stuff, they sold meat, a lot of meat. They had bread. They give you like rye bread. More, supposedly they say healthier bread. There's no bread that's healthy, but whatever. So, yeah, they had rye bread and they had a lot of meat in the store. People would eat a lot of meat. They would eat a lot of meat. They ate a lot of meat more than anything else. And one staple item would be a complex carbohydrate like potatoes. They would eat that. I don't know too many people eating rice. It's usually Asian people that eat rice. European people, they would eat potatoes. Yeah.
They know you could just squat 3 times a week. You have great legs. Don't they just know all you need is this and that, right? But then you go back and look and it's like, they're all like, yeah, we need to work each muscle from different angles. We really need to make sure we get a deep stretch on muscles. We need to do this. We need to train a muscle hard. Then if we just give it a week to recover, sorry guys, my nose is just, give it a week to recover, what happens? We all grow really well.
Yeah, if you give it a week to repair and remodel, not recover, runners recover, sports people recover, bodybuilders, we grow, we repair and we remodel. Huh. Yeah, and then you grow, yes, and you eat.
need to train to failure. Well, what are we finding? Training really close to failure does produce the best muscle growth. Not saying to failure works.
To failure produces the most muscle growth. In what? Sarcoplasmic? Yeah, you could train to failure and absorb more of this glycogen in the muscle. Okay, so you'll get some muscle growth in the gym. But if you're training to get muscle damage, that isn't muscle growth in gyms, bro. You're damaging muscles. What are you talking about?
But they kind of figured that out. If you get real close to failure, set per set, you don't need nearly as many sets to get fantastic muscle growth. They kind of figured this out. Did they all get results? They did. They built great physiques. Some of the greatest physiques in history were built using those sort of ideas.
Which physiques in history? You mean the drug addict people creating fake physiques? Because that's what they're paid to do? That's part of the entertainment industry? The fake bodybuilding world? Man.
Same thing with the dieting. Oh, the bro diets. But they work. How many guys bulked and stayed lean while bulking, while eating that way? How many guys got contest ripped, absolutely shredded while eating that way? A ton of.
There you go. The fact that he just said contest means he's talking about fake people.
It all worked. So while we're standing around and we've been saying this, and a lot of the evidence-based people are like, oh, this bro stuff, don't they know better? Well, they didn't always have the reasons right. They didn't know the mechanisms behind the things. They oftentimes said, well, it's working because of this and that. And it would be complete.
Yeah, they took steroids. It would have worked anyways. Whatever you do on steroids, it's going to work. It's going to create this artificial look. Yeah. That's its job. So it wouldn't matter what you did. But as far as people doing it naturally, yeah, I don't know. It's based on adaptations. But Coach Blaha doesn't know it's based on an adaptation system.
Nonsense. Oh, the brown rice has a lower whatever insulin responsiveness. That's literally not the reason. Okay? They didn't know the reasons why a lot of these things worked. They didn't understand the mechanisms in the body, but they figured out that it worked. And here's the thing that we have to remember. When you look at
the drug people, Blaha, or the natural people?
A lot of the evidence-based fitness people at the end of the day, and you compare them to a lot of the bros, on average, who's bigger, who's stronger, who's more jacked? And I hate to say this as someone who loves logic, who loves science, who loves reason. A lot of the bros were doing a lot better, particularly when I first came into the scene, right? A lot of the evidence-based people, they were using that almost as a cop-out. To not train hard, to eat like crap. As long as
no, Blaha, they just took steroids. They took drugs to fake it. That's all. Because they couldn't get results. Because they're genetic failures, like you. That's why you're on drugs.
if I hit my macros, it'll be fine. To train lazy is like I'm training smarter. So they would just train lazy.
That's what I've been saying about Blaha all this time. He trains lazy. He's a lazy lifter. That's why he doesn't get any results, because the body would be doing the talking, but it says a 0. Yeah.
Okay. And at the end of the day, a lot of them got a lot less results. So when we look at these things, it's very important to understand that in that context. Okay? The bros did great. They often got a lot of things right, and I mean a lot of things right. They just didn't understand why it worked, but they knew that it worked.
Yeah, they didn't know why it was working when they injected the steroids in their ass, but they knew it worked. They didn't know why it worked. Everything they did worked. It didn't matter what they did in the gym or what they were doing or eating or anything, but it worked. But then they couldn't figure out why it wouldn't stay when they went off the steroids. They couldn't figure out, oh, there's no more strength. There's the muscles and everything disappeared. That's the part what they couldn't figure out. Where did it all go? I thought I put the work in. I thought I put the work into it. They didn't really put the work in. The work has to be put in. It has to be put in the natural world through an adaptation process. For something to be real in your body, it's based on adaptations. It isn't based on injecting a steroid. Get it? That's the difference.
All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's
That's why Jason is a failure.
been informative, and I will.
It's been very uninformative. The bros got it right by injecting steroids in their ass, and they got it right, bro. Get it? They didn't know how it was working, but it was working. They go, fuck it, it's working. But then they discovered quickly that it doesn't work. When they went off the steroids, they realized, oh, it's all fake, it's artificial. Things have to be built in the natural world. If you want something real, it has to be built real. It can't be built artificially. See you in the next one, friends. Touch, think about that, like, subscribe, comment down below. Helps with the algorithm. I'll see you in the next one. JasonBlaha, broski. The bros got a lot of the things right in lifting. Yes, injecting steroids. The fake bros. See you in the next one. Ciao.